from the moment we got our banking license back in December, that was, I guess there was a lot of euphoria, excitement, but the amount of work that was ongoing in parallel in terms of talking to Irish customers, doing research, everything from surveys to in-person interviews to actually coming and walking the streets to observe people, to talk to people, to such a degree that 2 days after we got our banking license, we actually onboarded our first customers. At a Monzo level, it is a very human bank. We want to make money work for everyone. And a big part of that is how we talk to customers and how customers engage with us, not just when they have a problem, but like just understanding how the product and services work. They're here for more than just thinking of it, oh, I'm just going to download an app. No, it's like, I'm actually going to bank with you.
This is Money Never Sleeps. Sharp riffs, big ideas, and real insights from smart people. I'm Pete Townsend, GP at Norio Ventures. Let's go.
Money never sleeps, pal.
My guest today is making her third appearance on Money Never Sleeps. Given that our first episode was way back in October of 2018, and the second one was only 2 years later, you'd wonder what took us so long to get back on air together. Elaine Deehan is the Ireland country manager of Monzo Bank Europe. And Elaine, welcome back to Money Never Sleeps.
Thank you, Pete. It's great to be back.
Awesome. Now listen, you've been fully live in Ireland now for just a couple of months. So what does that actually feel like now, being on the other side of it? What's working? What were the things that surprised you?
Firstly, a lot of emotion, right? Because I have been on this journey for quite a while, so as you well know. So a lot of emotion. So from the moment we got our banking license back in December, that was, I guess there was a lot of euphoria, excitement, and a little bit of fear because now we're genuinely stepping into the unknown and out into the wilds. But an amazing, amazing feeling and brilliant opportunity. For the first couple of months, like we were, really just slowly ramping up, us getting our first customers on board, listening to them, learning from them, fixing things as we went, seeing how we really landed with the Irish customer. So that was great. And it was like, but it was nice and safe. And, it's within the guardrails of a very controlled launch. And then we did our full launch out into the wild on the 14th of April. Super response from customers, both on our wait list. Like we had 100,000 people on our wait list. We're here because we knew there was an opportunity, but it's actually like seeing it really happen before your eyes it's a great validation. So it's like, yeah, we made the right choice here. And then to see us out in the wild as well, like, I don't know if you've probably seen the Monzo Lewis coming and going.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been on it.
Have you? I actually haven't been on it. I keep getting pictures from people like, oh, I'm beside her, I'm on the Monzo Lewis. But I actually haven't been on it myself. And then in the train stations and like we're really to see Dublin being painted in hot coral is quite cool. But yeah, like, so the response has been fantastic. Like customers are, flocking to us, to open accounts. It's so reassuring when you see somebody, setting up a direct debit to pay their bills. They're here for more than just having a browse around an app or, thinking of it, oh, I'm just going to download an app. No, it's like, I'm actually going to bank with you. We are a bank and that's what we want people to do. So to see it happening and to know that customers are trusting us in that respect is amazing. So yes, it's great.
One of the things that kind of stuck out with me is that, it's the more human digital bank. And I think Ireland was well in need of one of those. What does it take to make a digital bank feel truly Irish and truly human?
It's obviously not just a cookie cutter approach. Like you take the version of the app from the UK and drop it in here. At a Monzo level, it is a very human bank, right? So we're taking that and bringing it here, the very, very best. And behind the curtain, the amount of work and effort that goes in to the research, to talking to customers, listening to customers, to truly understand how customers not just interact or the things they do, but how they really feel about money and their, managing their finances. Like that's the level of care and attention that goes in to building this product for the Irish market. What are people very frustrated with? Paying for everyday, day-to-day banking, surprise charges. If you don't have enough money to pay a direct debit, you get hit with a direct debit referral fee, right? Stuff like that is very, very frustrating for people. So, we've got to really understand what the pain points are, the problems that Irish customers face, and really try to solve for them. People get very, very frustrated with the way the bank speaks to them, the complicated jargon, difficult terms and conditions. That's a very simple thing for us to solve because that's in our DNA. The Monzo DNA is we want to make money work for everyone. And a big part of that is how we talk to customers and how customers engage with us, not just when they have a problem, but like just understanding how the product and services work. So if you look at our terms and conditions, they're written in really simple English that anyone can understand. It's not just any one thing, but it fundamentally is grounded in our mission.
That kind of goes back to my very first experience with Monzo. Way back in 2017, I met one of the original co-founders of Monzo, Jason Bates, and he shared a story with me on how he went out onto the street when he was head of product at the very earliest days of Monzo, and would ask people, tell me about your bank app. And sometimes he got people that would just look at him funny and walk away. Other times he would get people who would actually answer the question. And they'd say, oh, listen, yeah, here's my bank app. It's like, how do you know how much money you have left at the end of the month? Well, I just kind of look at the balance and I calculate based upon the number of days. Wouldn't it be great to do some kind of budgeting? So it was those kind of questions about really getting into the customer's mind that stood out to me. How much of that to kind of right-size things into an Irish mentality did Monzo do here in Ireland to figure things out in terms of the best way for this to land in the Irish market?
A lot of work. So, as you know, I've been working on this project for over 2 years. And a lot of that is doing the legwork to actually get the license, to get a banking license, which is huge. But the amount of work that was ongoing in parallel in terms of talking to Irish customers, doing research, everything from surveys to in-person interviews to actually coming and walking the streets to observe people, to talk to people, to such a degree that 2 days after we got our banking license, we actually onboarded our first customers. Again, it wasn't just purely like a lift and shift and drop. This was us having a product that actually was informed by all of that research. And that's what I suppose is great about Monzo, in the sense that the likes of Jason and Tom and Jonas, that real DNA that they had as founders lives on. People that are still at Monzo who worked with that founding team, they've taken the baton and they're really carrying it forward, so that when people like me come on board, I really get a sense of the mission that the original founders had, and that does live on. And that's really, really hard, when you're scaling and you're expanding internationally, to keep that culture and that DNA. But it's really, really central. We're continuing to talk to customers, be it through the app surveys or, reaching out to customers to actually, talk to us, people who, are maybe not engaging as much as we like, say, well, look, how can we help you more? Is there something more we can do for you? As well as talking to those that are actually using us and loving it. Again, goes down to the mission and the DNA that we have.
Yeah. The DNA is in you as well, Elaine. Your very first startup was acknowledging the fact that kids and parents have financial lives together. That's saying, listen, banking is human and this needs to be real, right?
And wasn't I right as well back then?
You were right. 8 years early, more than 8 years early, given you started that probably back in 2017.
Yeah, well, the seeds of that came from my own experience as a parent, seeing how my kids were interacting with money, and I suppose just knowing how the infrastructure worked, how you could actually make this something for like that parent-child relationship. We didn't get to launch, obviously, but we did have the foundation of something very, very special.
We have Elaine Deehan to thank for how digital banks actually do have that facility, that feature now to support both those child and parent interactions and being able to oversee your kids and their spending. And given us talking about this now and seeing Monzo painted onto the sides of a Lewis. And for those outside of Ireland, Lewis stands for Leave Us All Stranded. Sorry, no, it's a tram system. Seeing that land here in Ireland and seeing the approach that you've taken and understanding it, how much of this is now transplantable in the experience that you and the team have gone through to localize this and say, let's build this playbook for how it could go to the next market. How much of all that work that you've done is now actually reusable for Monzo's next market?
For going to Spain, obviously that's our next market. And actually we did quite a big splash in Madrid at the weekend. But like I would work very closely now with the Spanish team just in terms of like sharing the learnings and building that playbook. But like it really depends market by market. What doesn't change is the mission, right? So that will not change no matter what market we go into. There's different problems in every market, right? And each market has its own kind of nuance, even though we're like, you know, it's not just even language, but culturally and the attitudes to money, the level of digital adoption in one market versus another. But, you know, the core mission is the same. But then obviously when you go to a market like Spain, you've got language localization. And it's not just translating word for word. It's like, what does this mean for the person from an emotional point of view, the Spanish person's relationship with money, how they feel about money, etc. So like that is, again, going into the, you know, the foundations of the product. Obviously then you've got, in certain markets, you have very specific payment rails. So in Spain, it's Bizum, for example. So to be able to offer a customer in each local market, you know, a local experience so that they are actually fully able to participate in the local market. Again, all of that work that we've been doing in Ireland in terms of the research and getting the customer feedback, that is very much part of the playbook. You talk to the local customer. We can't rely on our assumptions based on, you know, experience to date in the UK or experience to date in Ireland. You really have to get in under the skin of a Spanish customer to be able to solve their problems.
And given your love of the Spanish language, Elaine, that you developed by having and your family hosting students from Spain when you were younger, and you said, listen, I'm just going to jump right in and I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to figure this out, right? When you chat with a team in Spain and, you know, share the experiences here from the Irish market, do you do that in English or in Spanish?
Depends. It depends. I'm actually, do you know what's interesting? I was actually just in Spain this weekend, not at the activation that we did in Madrid, but actually I was at a wedding for the original family that came to my family 35 years ago. So I was actually at a family wedding and I was speaking Spanish all weekend. But what was great was they have been some of our first customers. So they came through like as Elaine's friends and family. And I have some great pictures of them all holding their Monzo cards. And when my friend picked me up from the airport, he went to pay for the parking at the airport and he was using his Monzo card. So like that was a full circle moment. That was pretty awesome. And when I go to the Spanish office, I guess it depends. If it's just maybe me and one other person, we'll talk Spanish. But if there's other people, we'll talk English.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love it. I love it. And bringing this back to Ireland, Elaine, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you and learn more about Monzo and on board and open up a Monzo account?
The quickest, easiest way is to download the Monzo app from either the App Store or from Google Play Store. Visit monzo.com/IE. If anyone wants to talk to me, hook me up on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to find out more about like the inner workings of Monzo, we have a great community page, which we have a lot of Irish people on and kind of great early adopters. And that was one of the things that Monzo did really well in its very early stages. They have a community forum where people can go in and post feedback and ask questions and share ideas. Back in the day, like that was where you'd find Jonas, or you'd find Jason or Tom hanging out, actually engaging with customers firsthand. So we have that too. So yeah, they're probably all the ways to get in touch.
It feels very human to me.
It's great that it does resonate. We work hard at it. So yeah, we'll keep
Wonderful.
going.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming back onto the show, Elaine, and telling us all about Monzo and your experience and what's going on in the journey. Really appreciate it and can't wait for our next chat as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a million, Pete.
And to all of you out there, thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It helps others to find the show, and it means a heck of a lot to me. Till next time, see ya.